Well, you've read the title, so you already know what this is about. What am I going to babble about? Come back after the titles and find out. Hey, everybody. Anthony Dodge, Mile Train Outsider, American Outsider here. And I want to talk about some videos I'm going to be posting over the next few weeks. I don't know if it'll be 3 videos, 5 videos, whatever. But it's all about the follow car system. This first video, I'm just going to explain what the follow car system is in case you don't know, and I'm going to do it very simplistically. The second video is actually going to be where I was 4 or 5 years ago when I first did the follow car system and talk about why I stopped and why I'm back trying it again. And then after that, I haven't filmed while I've worked, but I have stopped at sections in my work, and I don't have it working yet. I'm just getting very, very close. The closest I've been in 4 years to having it working again. I've said it all. And so those videos, maybe 1 video, maybe 2, maybe 3 videos to show my progress in this latest endeavor. So the first thing I want to talk about with the follow car system is what is it? And its most basic form, wire and a follow car. And you don't have to use their wire. As long as it's wire that a magnet can stick to, you can use it. And then a follow car, which you have to buy. Follow car has 3 key parts besides the car. There's a motor inside, and then there is a ski underneath on the front axle, always on the front axle. And then if I turn it a certain way, but I'll also put up a picture here. I don't know how well you can see. There is, yeah, it's so hard to see. There is a magnet on the ski. And again, I put a picture up here so you can see it. And in the most simple form, and hopefully this will show up, the magnet pulls to the wire, and I don't know if you guys saw that action. I'll try to do it again. Magnet pulls to the wire, and this is called a guide wire, and the car goes along. You turn the motor on, and it just pulls along, and that's it. Now, you have to embed this wire somehow. They actually make tools, but you want to go about 1/2 millimeter deep, either into foam board, into wood, or you can use their, or anybody's Spackle kit. Their little Spackle kit. Here, I'll put this up where you can see that this is their road making, and it's mix with water and make your spackle and build your road bed, and then you embed the wire, and you want to just go down about 1/2 millimeter or less, but just enough to be below the surface. And basically most guys start to let it harden, embed the wire, and then they spackle over it again, just put a little bit more of a layer so the wire's hidden, and then they paint it and put in their road things. Now, if you don't like the idea of embedding it so that it's level and hidden, they sell their own little track system. Now, this is about 3 millimeters thick, and you have to embed the wire in the pre-cut grooves for you. And they sell curves, they sell turnouts, they sell, right-hand turns, left-hand turns, 4-lane intersections, depending on how crazy you want this to go. They have 2 different radius of curves so that you can create 2 lanes in a curve. Here's a turnout, a right-hand turn, and you'll notice that some of these pieces, all these pieces have little holes on them, and some of these pieces have big holes on them. Or like the bus stop, you'll see there's a little symbol here, and I'll explain what all that is right now. But in basic, this is actually the cheapest because a follow car is 80 to 180 bucks, and then wire. And like I said, you can use wire from home. Anything as long as the magnet can attach to it. And then you just lay out your road, 2 lanes, 4 lanes, 6 lanes. They do have to loop. They have to form a circuit, not for electrical power, but if you want the cars to keep going, they have to be able to keep going. But how it loops, whether winding country highway or up and down hills or however, through neighborhoods and around, it's all up to your imagination. You just have to embed it. But if you're happy with that, you buy a couple of cars and a wire, and boom, you've got cars moving. And when it comes to having two cars moving, this is the cheapest, even cheaper than Magna Rail, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. All right, but what if you want to do more? What if you want actual running traffic? Like you want them to stop at stop signs and you want them to take a left-hand turn. How do you do that? Well, you now have to go to level 2, which is their car driving system. So there's the Fowler car system, then there's the Fowler road or Fowler driving system. And that involves, now again, if you use spackle or grooved into your wood and styrofoam, however you set up to embed the wire, any kit has a template sheet you can use for the spacing of what I'm about to show you. So the road track is already preset. And for example, this is the key. I'm just going to use this as the primary example because it covers everything. It's got the 3 main features. Because if you want traffic to move, like the key reason I went to Fowler Car was I wanted the bus stop, which you cannot do with Magna Rail. So here is a pre-cut bus stop. The traffic comes from this way. And you'll notice that there's a hole here and a hole here. There's a big hole here. And then when you follow this line up, there's a symbol, a mark here. That is because for you to have a working bus stop or a car changing lanes or taking an off-ramp on a taking an off-ramp on a highway or taking a right-hand turn or a left-hand turn, you have to do a more advanced job. If you just want cars moving, wire and a car. You want actual traffic conditions where cars will stop at a stop sign or stoplight, you got to do that next system. And that involves several parts. It involves motors. This is a stop motor. Stop section they call it, but stop motor. It does exactly what you say. This releases an EMP pulse. When activated, it releases an EMP pulse. And when a vehicle with an electric motor comes near it, all its electronics shut off and it's dead. This is called a branch off junction motor. This is more simplistic. It's not an EMP pulse. It has a little hammer bar inside of it that when activated, the hammer hits, and if you look at the box, there's a little lid there. The hammer, you can actually on the box see the hammer sticking out there. The lid is attached and the hammer just bumps that cover. And to explain this, let me go back to the bus stop. Whenever you see a big hole like this on the Fowler track, that means this is where you'd put one of those motors. The cover fits inside. There's a little lip in there. So if you're going to embed this on your own layout and not use their track system, you just use the wire, you have to drill down, but you also have to have the lip there so that the lid fits at surface level. So, like a quarter of a millimeter, a 16th or so of an inch down so that the lid, that cover, fits in there and is at grade level so that the wire can go into it. Now, it actually has grooves where you can fit wires depending on whether you're going to do a right-hand turn, a left-hand turn, or what have you. But they use it for all that. So it works here, it works here. And all it does is when that cover's there, notice that we have 2 different tracks here. So the car wants to go straight. But when you activate the motor hammers up and it literally bumps the car over. So if I were to do it, the car wants to go straight, but as soon as the motor's activated, right about here, the motor will thump and it bounces the car over. That's all it does. It just bounces the car over. But it's so finely tuned and detailed that it bounces it in the correct angle and the correct direction. When you connect the motor to the lid, there are mounts that say if you're doing a right-hand turn, you have to connect it here. You can't just connect the motor to that cover. You have to do it right. So anyhow, it bounces and it makes this guy, and the magnet grabs the other line and follows along. All right. The stop motors go under this symbol here. Looks like the old USA. Stop motors go under there. When activated, the stop motor sends out an EMP, as I showed already, and shuts down the car. All right. Well, you've heard me say activate. How do you activate it? Well, if you were to just use the motors, they would be permanently on. If you just plug them into a power source, they're 16 volt. If you were to just plug them into a power source, they would just be permanently on. So all cars would follow that turn off. All cars would stop here and never move again. How do you get them to work? Well, that's where you have to take the next step. You buy the bus stop kit. The bus stop kit comes with both motors, a control module, reed sensors. I'll put pictures up here of reed sensors. And then magnets. And here's the step. First of all, they tell you exactly where to affix the magnet. So if you notice, this car has a magnet. This car does not. You put the magnet by the back axle. Okay? Put the magnet by the back axle. You either use your template, or if you're using the track system, it's already marked. There are 2 holes here. I don't know if you can see them here. Hole 1, hole 2. The reed sensors go in there, and again, you have to drill little holes for the wires to go through for the reed sensor to fit down. But the reed sensor has to be right at track level. If you're doing it embedded somewhere, the top of the reed sensor has to be right at level. Okay, so if the reed sensor is a little low or too high, if it's too high, the magnet hits it. If it's too low, it won't read the magnet. But that's what a reed sensor does. Real quick, the reed sensors and everything plug into here. The reed sensor, there are places where you'll plug in the reed sensors, and the sensor will be assigned. You'll plug them in together into the same slot on here. I don't know how well you can see this, but there are some screw-in slots where the wires fit in. You know, you put the wires here. But the positives and negatives get wired together so that the reed sensor activates the motor. Reed sensors, similar to reed switches, a reed sensor reads a magnetic field, and when it reads a magnetic field, it sends a signal that tells this control device, allow the electricity to flow. The electricity flows, the motor goes off. Now, when this controls the motor, it only allows the motor to thump once. So it will have a microsecond of a thump, so the car that's going over it will get bumped over. And a car right behind it won't, because the motor's not on anymore. It was only on for that split second when it was activated. So what happens is, I don't know how well I can demonstrate that. So here's the bus. When that magnet, and I'll do it this way, when that magnet gets over, look where the ski is. When the magnet gets over the first reed sensor, about right there, the motor comes on for this one. So the front reed sensor activates this motor. So it thumps it over, and the bus bounces up and goes this way. But as soon as it starts following, the magnet passes the second reed sensor. That opens up the stop motor. And the bus gets to the stop motor and stops. Now, again, normally if you just power those devices up, the 2 motors up, they'll permanently, so all cars will get bumped over and all cars will stop and not go anymore. This has a timer on it. There's a little screw inside a hole here. And this says time on it in German, Zeit, time. And the more you turn that screw, the longer the motor stays on. You can, with these, you're guesstimating. You're just trying, okay, I wanted a couple of seconds more, a few seconds more. But I think this goes up to 45 seconds. There's a much fancier version, the traffic control module here, where you can specifically program it to up to, I think this one was up to 5 minutes. There's a even more advanced version where you can program it up to 10 minutes for the parking lot bits, where cars will pull into a parking space and stay there for 10 minutes and then pull out and leave again. So anyhow, that's the module. So reed sensors, and again, the reed sensors have to be spaced Precisely. That's why you got to, if you're not going to use the road track, you use the templates, because it tells you mark here, drill, put your reed sensor here, motor here. But you can do all kinds of traffic systems. You can have cars turning off and going whatever direction. You can have cars turning left at an intersection, turning right. And the combination of stop motors and junction motors allows you to create pretty much any traffic situation. You can have 4-lane crossroad traffics, 8-lane highways with branch off ramps. You can do everything. There's only one thing you can't do seriously. Okay, two things. Number one, you can't run regular passenger cars. Okay, the Fowler car motors haven't gotten that detailed yet. Secondly, and the bigger issue is when you have Fowler cars, as I explained, when the batteries get tired, this car following can catch up and bump into this one. If this one's getting tired and this one's going faster, there's no way to control that. If you're turning left, unless you have a stop section created so that when this car passes over a reed sensor, it activates a stop motor underneath traffic coming the other way, so this guy starts to turn, the other car stop. Otherwise, they would crash into each other without that stop motor. So this guy could be turning, and this guy's coming around the corner at the wrong time. So timing's an issue. So as the batteries were down, these are supposed to be timed well that if they're both charged the same, they won't catch up to each other. They run at the same speed. And they're all weight sensitive and everything else, so they pick up on that. But batteries die at different rates. And okay, so that can happen, and you have to watch that. That's the one negative. But otherwise, that's the Fowler car system. The pros, you have all kinds of full traffic. They even sell stoplights that would plug into these modules so that stoplights will change, cars will stop, and you can even have a series of stops so that car coming up behind another one would stop, and then all of a sudden light changes and cars can go again, including 4-lane intersections, and they even say it so pre-made of that. The negative, the cost of the cars, as I mentioned, $80, $90 to $180. And, of course, the kits can be expensive, although the basic bus stop kit is, I think, $50. And you get the 2 motors, 3 reed sensors, and the magnet. So it's not a horrible price for that, for what you're getting. And then the other negative is, of course, even though you have more realistic traffic, you still have the problem of cars bumping into each other or crashing, depending on how you set up your system. And there are entire books to explain how to control that in nice ways. Now, Fowler does have a much more advanced system where the cars are $220 to $350 called Fowler Digital System. But that has a start set of $900. And then the cars have decoders in them, just like model trains. And the control system monitors all the cars. It reads the car addresses. It reads where they are with little infrared sensors. It reads where the cars are and will slow them down, stop them, whatever else. And you can control it through your computer and set up traffic flow patterns and everything else. Very high tech, very crazy. Okay, and that's only for the really serious crazy people. So that's Fowler car. All right, let's look at the next one. Magna Rail. Magna Rail is a wonderful system, and but let's explain what Magna Rail is. Imagine a bike chain, one of your old pedal bikes, 2 gears and your pedals. Your pedals cause the chain to go around. Okay, replace the pedals with a gear motor, and then switch your chain and set it down like that. That's Magna Rail. You have a chain, almost like a bike chain. In fact, you could do it yourself with gears and a bike chain. But it also has a channel. And again, you have to embed it. You have to account for height, depth, and everything else, mounting the gear motors. The gear motors have speed control on them. So you have a primary drive motor, and then you have additional gears so that you can set up, again, whatever traffic flow you want. A negative is that it's actually harder to install their chain gear system than it is to do the wire of Fowler. But here is a big positive. Other than the start kit, which is $180, which gives you enough gears and that to really set up a nice, and again, uphill, downhill, winding, country, highway, whatever. It's all possible. It's not better or worse than Fowler. Your imagination determines how much it's going to have and what it's going to do. Here's the big benefit. There are no Magna Rail cars because any car, no matter how big or how small, works on Magna Rail. Because they don't sell cars with, where did I just set them? There they are. They don't sell cars with skis. They just sell the ski, and you don't need a magnet because the magnet comes with the kit. And you put the magnet in one of the links of the chain, and you just pick your cars and you space them apart the way you want. And then they give you the ski, and any car, either the car has a hole or like this car that doesn't have any hole in it, you just take a 1mm or 1/32, 1/16 drill bit and drill just a little mini hole. And if you look at these pictures of the skis, you just bend the flange of the ski up in so it fits the hole. Maybe hook it just a little so it hooks in a bit as the car is moving. But basically, the car just pushes the ski. The ski is locked in place by the magnet. So you put it over the magnet, the ski is locked into place, and the car drives along with it. So, other than the initial expense, any car, a $2 car, a free car you picked up at a garage sale, went to a train show and a guy was clearing out all these cars for $2-3 each or 2-3 pounds each, whatever. Any car will work on Magna Rail. Any car. You just have to attach the ski yourself. The downside, besides it's a little bit harder to install, it's a little bit more work to install the chain drive system. The other downside is it's always a perpetual motion. It looks great. I've seen an 8-lane highway made to look like the U.S. Interstate 80 highway going into Denver that even had a branch off lane going down. But all the cars in that lane went down. It looked beautiful, and they had each drive had its own motor at a slightly different speed. So you had a really fast far left lane, slightly slower, slightly slower, slightly slower, and then a turnoff lane. It was amazing. It was so cool. But all those cars do is just they go in a big circle. Part of the circle is hidden. They go into a tunnel in the Rocky Mountains, and then they come around, and then they come back out on the other end. And the cars are always in the same order. There's no bus stop ability. There's no parking ability. There's no four-way intersection possibilities with it. It is a simple, and I say that not being insulting, but it's a basic loop. The cars will just follow whatever. Again, you can make it a very winding road if you want. Just keep adding gears for the chain drives to go around. But your cars will never have 100% traffic. The cars are in the same order all the time, and they just follow the loop. And that's it. Another cool thing about Magna Rail is they actually do bikes where the people's legs pump up and down on the bike and they move. In fact, Graham Fulston at Lakeside Model Railway has a bicycle setup where it's he and his wife, Hazel. They ride their bikes out of their garage from their house because he's built his house and his neighborhood. They come out, they go down the street, they slightly go up a hill, they go into a park, they ride their bikes around the park, they come back out, down the street, and back into the garage. And it is beautiful. It is museum quality, and it's just amazing. And you can do that. And they also have a boat system, which Fowler Car doesn't do bikes or boats. The pros, much cheaper, because once you start with the startup kit, all other cars are cheap. The little plates you can buy additional, so you can have as many cars as you want. You can set up your roads. It's just always going to be the same traffic. You're not going to have the little eye candy bits of a car switching lanes. You don't have motors for them to switch lanes and do that. It's static. All right, the third one is the new one on the block, Visman Car Motion, which basically is similar to Fowler. In fact, their cars are basically the same. They have a ski with a magnet on top, but instead of using a wire, they use magnetic tape, self-adhesive magnetic tape, which again, you kind of have to embed, but it's a little easier. Well, probably same difficulty as the wire. They are coming out sometime next year with a track system, but their track system is better because I didn't show this earlier, but the Fowler Car track system does not fit the standard HO pre-made road things that you can buy from Bush, Fowler. Even Fowler doesn't fit Fowler car. Their roads, it doesn't fit. One lane is too fat, 2 lanes is too skinny for this. It just, why they didn't design that better, I don't know. But you can still use those by just using the wire instead of having to paint everything. But anyhow, Visman, the difference is when you're trying to do traffic control system, Visman switched it. Instead, the cars still have motors, but instead of you adding a magnet and then putting reed sensors everywhere you want to turn, the cars have reed sensors and decoders because all the cars light up. Their headlights work. Here you have to buy and add that stuff. The Viessmann cars have headlight systems that either come with them working already or very quick and easy to add. Anyhow, but the reed sensor is in the car, and you just put the magnets out, and they don't come with, but you can buy remote control cars that you can program to control different cars and turn the lights on and off. But because they have reed sensors, when those cars are getting near each other, the reed sensor recognizes there's a car in front of it and slows the car down. You can control the speed of the cars with the remote controls, but the reed sensors do it, so they eliminate that Fowler car problem. The downside of the Viessmann cars is they are double the price. Where a basic Fowler car is $80, $90, the starting Viessmann car motion is about $220, and they go up to $350. They're the same price as the Fowler digital, and basically they do the same thing as the digital. You just don't have to buy the $900 digital start kit. And again, Graham at Lakeside Model Railway put in a Viessmann car system, or put a few Viessmann cars, because Viessmann cars will work on the Fowler car system. They will work on it because it's still a magnet and a drive and all that. But the big difference is the Viessmann cars have sensors and can stop each other or slow each other down to prevent bumping into each other or crashing. Now, Viessmann has not quite got the motor. I mean, you can do, but you kind of have to program it right now. And they are now releasing, they're releasing turnout motors and stop motors to set up doing bus stops. But originally, you kind of have to program it and get them to do that and tell it. And you do that with magnets. But again, with their magnet system, all cars are going to do that. But you can do a lot of cool traffic control system with embedding the magnets on your track and not embedding all these drop-down motors. And then you just program the cars that at this magnet you do this. And you can tell one car to stop at this point. You can tell another car to ignore it. So yes, you can make a bus pull out or something like that. So the nice thing about Viessmann is it solves a couple of problems with the Fowler car system, but it's much more expensive. But you also get cars that can do more, including built-in lighting systems already, and they're programmable, and they are remote control, so it's even bringing in that remote control 187 factor into it. So they have a lot of different factors with that. So no system is better than the other when you look at overall quality and value for money. They all have their pros, but they come with, I don't want to say a con, just you have to understand. Fowler is the medium cost, and you get a lot of action with Fowler when you start adding the modules and the turnout motors and stop motors, so you get more realistic traffic flow than Magna Rail, but you're going to pay a lot more money. Magna Rail's biggest selling point is that if you don't care about having bus stops and traffic flow and you just want some cars moving on your layout, it's the cheapest. You buy the startup system, but after that, you can pick any model car and stick it in, and it goes. Viessmann, more price, but the cars do more, and they'll work on your Magna, or they'll work on your Fowler car system if you already have one. They just have more functions and options at the get-go, but they are more expensive for those options. And they will still follow the same stuff. So you can buy a Viessmann car and run it on your Fowler car system. You can buy a Fowler car and run it with your Viessmann system. It just won't do the same things. It'll just run the track, but all the other the Visman cars will react to it. So if you just have a Fowler car running that doesn't have a decoder to stop at this magnet, it'll just keep going, but all the other cars will respond to it and with their sensors and not bump into it or hit it. So there's cross fertilization. And there are other differences with Viessmann, like the articulated axles and stuff that allows them to make longer cars that can work in curves, where Fowler, they don't have the articulated axis or axles, and so they don't do really big, long semi-trailers and that look a little weird. If you imagine, I'll take this one. This is not a Fowler car, but you take this semi. If it were in the Fowler car system, when it starts to go around the curve, it would go like this. It just looks totally unrealistic. And so Viessmann adopts that, but Visman comes with its own problems. You've got to program the cars. You have to use the remote control to activate things, whereas with Fowler, you just start it up and let it go. So money and what you want it to do will determine which car system is best for you. All three are great. All three are wonderful. You can't go wrong as long as you understand ahead of time which car system you want. I went with Fowler because my whole idea with Fowler was to have a bus stop. Actually, a bus terminal where multiple buses come in and stop. That's what I've done. And had it working briefly, and then everything went wrong. That's another video. But that's how it works. So I think I have covered the basics of the three systems. I obviously don't have models of all three systems. I only have the Fowler car system here. But you can Google Magna Rail, but at least now going ahead, you already know the pros and cons, because they won't usually tell you the cons on their websites. They'll just, here's this. So until part 2, where I talk about my experience with my Fowler car system, I'm going to say, auf Wiedersehen, choose happy trains. Take care, everybody.